Hello, I'm Dr. Leon Stutzman, aka Doc, with another one of my little videos to help you to get through these strange days in which we find ourselves. And these are strange days, indeed, without a doubt. I shared on an earlier video about a friend of mine who said I was a Pollyanna because I'm always optimistic. Well, I divide the word into two parts, opta and mystic. That is, opta to see, and mystic to see beyond where you are to where you want to be. Your expectations. I am optimistic, but I'm also a realist. And I've discovered that optimism is most often the strongest when it's grounded in the reality of your situation. Let me tell you a story that'll help to illustrate. This young woman came into my office years ago. She was breaking down crying, 35, 36 years old, newlywed, few years, had a couple kids. And she said, "I'm dying. I just came from the oncologist and he said I have inoperable, incurable cancer and I'm dying. I'm going to die and I'm going to miss watching my children grow up." She was falling apart. She said, "I want you to pray with me. I need a miracle." Well, I wanted her to get a miracle, but I knew she wasn't going to get a miracle in the mindset that she was in. Your mind is the greatest hindrance to your miracle. Let me say that again. Your mind is the greatest hindrance to your miracle. So I looked at her and I asked her a question. I said, "What's the worst thing that's going to happen?" She said, "What?" I said, "What's the worst thing that's going to happen?" And she said, "You're not listening to me. I've been to the oncologist. He said I have inoperable, incurable cancer. I'm going to die." I said, "So what's the worst thing that's going to happen?" She's getting mad by this time. She said, "I'm going to die." I said, "So that's the worst thing that's going to happen. You're going to die. Are you a Christian?" And she said, "Well, you know that I am." I said, "Well, what happens when a Christian dies?" And she said, "Well, I guess they go to heaven." I said, "Okay, so you're telling me the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to die and you're going to go to heaven." I said, "What else happens when a Christian dies?" She thought a minute. She said, "Well, I guess they see Jesus." I said, "So you're telling me the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to die, you're going to heaven, and you're going to see Jesus. And then in what will seem to you like a blink of an eye, your family's going to join you there." And she got a funny look on her face. She confronted the reality of her situation. She looked at her worst case scenario and realized it wasn't quite as bad as what she thought it was. And she said, "Well, yeah, that's the worst thing that's going to happen." And with that, the cloud lifted and I was able to pray the prayer of faith with her. She was healed. You know, I wouldn't be telling you this story if she hadn't gotten healed. She was healed. She lived and watched her children grow up. And that's the end of that story. But that's not the end of the story. You see, you look at the situation, you grasp the reality of the situation, and then you apply optimism. You look beyond the situation. You see what God can do in your life. And you know what he's done before. You know that all the promises of God are in him, yes and amen, unto the glory of God by us. And so you lay hold of the promises of God. You live with expectation. Your expectation brings manifestation. And that's why it's so important that you maintain a positive mental attitude as we go through this coronavirus crisis that we find ourselves in. My prayer for you this week is a positive mental attitude, that you're going to experience the very best of life the rest of your life. That's my prayer for you this week. I'll be sharing another one of these videos on Friday, and it's all about high hopes. You've got to have high hopes. I hope this has helped you. If it has, share it with someone. Join me Sunday at Aspire Church, aspirechurch.tv. That's our website. You can live stream there, aspirechurch.tv, or you can go onto Facebook at Aspire Church TV. We Facebook Live Aspire Church TV every Sunday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. This Sunday, Easter Sunday, we're having a virtual communion service. So if you join with us, have some communion elements together that you can celebrate communion with us. And you say, "What do you mean by some communion elements?" Whatever. It can be wafer and wine. It can be grape juice and soda cracker. It can be Coca-Cola and a Frito. Yeah, I just said Coca-Cola and a Frito. I'll tell you about that on Sunday as we celebrate this virtual communion. And I share some insights into recession-proofing your life from Jesus' first miracle, where he turned water into wine, because that really is a resurrection story. It's going to be powerful. I'm Dr. Leon Stutzman. Thanks for joining me.